You, tabletop gamer, I know that you've played your way through the Tolkien back catalog of elves, dwarves, halflings, and sexy elves. Now you're looking for something new, something a little weird, something that fills in the gap between nostalgia and monstrosity. Well, listen up, sicko. Battlezoo Ancestry Living Legends is here to fill that hole. Featuring 14 unique ancestries for your Pathfinder 2e or D&D 5th edition games, like Swarmblood, a creature made of hundreds of other little creatures. Ew. Gargoyles, where you can disguise as an ordinary statue but also become a warrior of the night. Angels, devils, sphinxes, evil eyes. Look at them. I love them and will die for them. And the most chaotic ancestry of them all, fusions. Play as an ancestry that combines multiple characters in one, like a chimera, or two-headed giant, or even a mighty hydra. Is that a party in your character, or are you just happy to see me? You could either share this character with other players or control it all yourself. In front of you is a golden idol placed on a pedestal.
My character does an Arcana check to determine its origin and any possible enchantment that might...
I'ma stick it up me bum.
Battlezoo Ancestry's Living Legends includes in-depth information about each creature's culture, society, and history. Plus, you'll get hundreds of digital tokens and illustrations that work with any VTT, and thousands of unique options and custom rules for players or game masters to build the strangest characters imaginable. Make sure to check out all the perks below, and thanks for stopping by Battlezoo Ancestry's Living Legends.
Don't forget you can get the book digitally or in a beautiful hardcover.
I'ma stick that up me bum and all.
We're live.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Roll for Combat Live.
Now
Has everyone downloaded their free demigods from yesterday's April Fool's Day?
I don't know. I think so, because boy, I have the little Shopify app, and every time someone buys something, it does a little pop-up.
Oh, man.
And it was crazy yesterday. It was just like...
Was your phone just blaring just constantly?
It was like nonstop, yeah. Because every time, it's like, of course it always says, oh, they ordered it $0. So it kept going, 0, 0, 0, 0. I'm like, great. I'm like, well, these people are getting it. So I was like, usually when it comes up, it's a sale. But this time it was a whole bunch of zeros. So it's not the worst thing in the world. But yes, yesterday... Boy, that was you guys, I hope you appreciate those free demigods and those free things we do, because it is so much work to do those things. It was a ridiculous amount of work to make that.
Yeah, no, it really was.
Hundreds of hours for that one little damn thing, because it's 2 PDFs. This time, full 7 pieces of art, which means the other ones didn't have 7. The 7 pieces, which is what all of our ancestries have. I actually added another set of animated tokens, full set of animated tokens, full Foundry module, and then they had to figure out how to add the religion into the Foundry module with full automation. This thing, it takes weeks to build these damn things. I think next year we're going to make 1 dinosaur. That's it. And you can play a dinosaur. You can play a dinosaur person. I'm thinking that will be it, Mark. You can be a dino.
Well, they can already do that with Dr. Droland's Dictionary of Dinosaurs or with Professor Primula's Portfolio of Paleontology.
Okay, well, in that case, I'll just have Dr. Nathan Barling do it for us.
There we go. Or we could just do something more like Dungeons that was just shorter.
Ugh.
It's just that we've kind of expanded outwards, and like Demigods, it had to have a religion system. If it didn't, it actually would have been probably as short as Dungeons. If it didn't have the religion.
People like the religion system more than the ancestry, by the way, it looks like.
Oh, I know. But that's because the religion system was very important to playing a god. And you could use it on Titans as well, right? Because they're sort of like a type of godling, but for those kaiju god beast creatures rather than for like a god.
Anyhow, we're blabbing. Who's our guest?
So you want me to introduce myself?
Sure, now you can talk. Talk.
So I'm Dr. Nathan Barling. I'm a paleontologist with the University of Exeter, and I'm director of Paleo Games Limited, and also the co-writer of Dr. Drolin's Dictionary of Dinosaurs, and soon to be Professor Primula's Portfolio of Paleontology.
What is it with these titles? You gotta, like, what is the thinking? It's like these titles are so silly, but yet interesting. These are things you would see in the 70s. Like when I was a kid.
There's no reasonable justification for it. I thought it was fun, is the answer.
Okay.
And so I'm my own boss, and maybe there's not enough reins on me to control that sort of stupidity. So here we are.
No, it's not stupid. Actually, the opposite. I actually like having someone as the narrator. All of our books have our dragons. All of our books have narrators, all of them, and they usually sign their name. So for all of our dragon books, we have Calexandrix right here, who is the narrator of all the books, and he writes very long diatribes and journal entries explaining all the dragons he finds. So I think it's a great way to get lore across without being this weird third-person narrative where it's just coming from God. This way, it's coming from a person.
Exactly.
Well, the thing I liked about Dr. Drolin's Dictionary of Dinosaurs, where Dr. Drolin was actually an NPC in the book who wrote a Dictionary of Dinosaurs, and I was amused that Linda in the Pathfinder version, I believe, put in an actual item that was Dr. Drolin's Dictionary of Dinosaurs, that Dr. Drolin had his in-game Dictionary of Dinosaurs. So it was like how have the Tome of Horrors for 3.5 D&D had a Tome of Horrors monster in the Tome of Horrors that made you fight monsters from the Tome of Horrors.
So
I actually added that to my 5e game now, and my players used it last session as well. It's a brilliant idea. Should have included it in the 5e version. Maybe in a future PDF update we will. What a great idea. Yeah, I love it.
Cool. So
Linda always has cool ideas.
Let me ask you. I know you've been on the show once before. I don't remember what we talked about. But I'm gonna say this might be
there
repeated.
was one time, Stephen, that you weren't here, and Nathan, Linda, and I were.
Oh, that's why I don't remember it. I don't remember it because I wasn't on the show. Okay, now I feel like
all about portraying dinosaurs realistically and different things.
I thought I was going insane.
We talked about one dinosaur maybe not being able to put up its frill and then launch into the sun and be immune to fire and other funny topics.
I thought I was losing my mind. So then I get to tell the story. So here's the story, and you have to answer this. So I don't get a lot of free stuff in the mail. I'm not like some of the other YouTubers that, I talked to Bob World Builder and Professor Dungeon Master and Ben Milton. They're like, oh my God, they send me so much free stuff. And I'm like, I don't get anything. But one day this just showed up in the mail. No, I didn't know, nothing. It just shows up. And I was like, what's this? And then it's the dinosaur book. And I was like, oh, this is cool. And then I looked through it. And then I can't remember if you contacted me directly or how that went about, but then you were asking about turning it into Pathfinder. And then I was talking to you about turning it into Pathfinder. And here's a little known fact, everyone. And do like and subscribe because I'm going to tell you a secret about Mark Seifter. Mark Seifter has a dinosaur museum in his house. I am not kidding. And I don't mean a small dinosaur museum. How many dinosaur items are in that display, Mark?
So it is my parents' house because
it's your house too.
Linda and I are still looking for somewhere that's not insanely expensive, although
and doesn't have a dinosaur living in the basement.
But it is true, and Stephen has been here because we had a meeting with the distributors that was in Maryland, and he came over and saw the dinosaur museum that was in the basement, and there is one down there, and it is fairly sizable, but it's not just dinosaurs, it's fossils. There's a lot of different fossils. One of the standouts is there's a lot of Ichthora, And one of the reasons why there are a lot of Icphora is because there was a paleontology snafu in the state of Maryland where Icphora quadricostata se, which does not appear in Maryland at all, had been listed as the state fossil, even though it only appears in like Virginia. So my father like went to like state delegates and got them to change it to Icphora gardneri Wilson, which does appear in Maryland. It was probably the one that was intended to be the state fossil to begin with. And then like the whole family went to like the governor and were there when they signed the bill or whatever. Like I think my dad's on Wikipedia for that. So
but
yeah,
the point is of all the things, it's like you said, Me the Dinosaur book. I work with Mark. Mark's dad is a dinosaur expert. Then you get in touch with Linda. Linda does the Pathfinder. Like the perfect person. You couldn't have gotten a better person to convert the Pathfinder if you tried.
And then you mean then someone who works at Paizo and is the daughter-in-law of a person with the dinosaur museum?
Yes. Yes. I'm like, that's crazy.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've seen the quality of stuff that you guys have produced, and we're like, well, we want to do that. So we reached out, and I can't express enough how wonderful it's been working with Linda. She's amazing, and we've come up with some really, really fun stuff, mostly from her, just my slight sprinkling of input. But I've seen the photos of the museum. It's genuinely impressive. Like it puts some actual museums to shame, which is quite worrying.
Well, he has little plaques up from everything, and like it's a real museum. Like it's not just there's some stuff on the shelves. It's like real displays with little plaques describing each item. But there's school trips that come to the house, right?
There are. Yeah. A lot was lost when the house burned down, although some of them survived. Like actually, it was the firefighters with their water that actually dealt more damage to it than the actual fire, because of course they survived millions of years. So you would think they would survive a house fire.
Always destroy fossils.
Yes.
So in some cases they were just like melded into like weird gunk of other things that had been burning, and so he just displays them and being like, this is what happens to a fossil after a fire. There's still a lot, and he had like some sympathy fossils that were sent over. Like he had one person who wrote I don't know what's famous in paleo art, but apparently like a book of like paleo art of like fossil plants or something like that, and it was on the guy's own fossil plant collection. And I think that person was like dying and then gave his fossil plant collection to my dad, which we now have with the book that has the pictures of it. Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff.
There's a really interesting phenomenon with fossil collections because the people who tend to collect fossils tend to go like collect loads over the course of a lifetime, and then when they pass on, those fossils are often either donated to a local museum. But the thing is that the collections are usually so large, most museums can't house them, and so they ask universities. Universities can't house them, so they end up going to other fossil collectors quite frequently, and so you end up with some people with absolute mountains, like storage facilities full of fossils, and there's just none of them are worthless. They're all important and worth something, but there's so much weight and bulk. It's quite hard to pass them on and find stuff to do with them.
So I'm looking through this book, and I'm looking through the first one. I'm looking at this one dinosaur, the beast of the Miku River drainage. Is this real? And second, how the heck do you pronounce that?
There's pronunciation.
Oh, I know, but I can't. It's all vowels. It's like
Mayan Matatuka.
What? It's Mayan Makatuka?
It's an African dinosaur. So
that is cool. And they're real. This is real. I've never heard of this dinosaur.
Yeah. It's got a heart. It's got part of its vertebrae is heart shaped. So we gave it like it's all these loving powers. Basically.
Oh, look at that. It's really cool.
Magical rules.
The funny thing is, of course, when I was a kid, I grew up in the 80s, and dinosaurs were really big in the 80s, and then obviously the 90s and all that. But it's like, I have never heard of 99% of these dinosaurs. It's like...
Well, this is one of the things we wanted to do, right? Is that almost everyone knows of the dinosaurs of Hell Creek, the T-Rex, Triceratops, what have you. And then a few other bits and bobs. But we wanted to introduce dinosaurs that are recognizably familiar in what they sort of are, but are also new genera for people. So Kentrosaurus is a really good one. It's basically a type of stegosaur, but rather than just having plates and then spikes on the tails, the plates transition to spikes halfway down the animal. So just cool stuff like that. We wanted to do that. With Professor Primulas, we're going a little bit crazier. Obviously, we're expanding to not just be Mesozoic reptiles. We're including like Cenozoic mammals and Paleozoic mollusks, all sorts of strange things. And we've picked some really weird and like wonderful creatures from Earth's past that people probably aren't familiar with. I mean, the paleo fans will be, most of them, but there are some very strange things on there that are pretty obscure, even they're like unfamiliar to me. So we went as far as we could to be a bit crazy.
There's a dinosaur in here called Zool.
Yes.
After Zool from Ghostbusters.
Yes.
So they named a dinosaur after Zool from Ghostbusters?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I mean, people name things after whatever they want.
Well, I know.
Right?
I just listened to a podcast about how the scientific community's newest thing is naming creatures after famous people to get press.
Oh, well, I mean, that makes sense. But I mean, did you hear about like people naming like the Sonic Hedgehog protein just because they felt like it after Sonic the Hedgehog? That was a while ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing you're not allowed to name stuff after is yourself, I believe. I mean, the International Convention on Nomenclature has a few more guidelines that I won't bore you by quoting them. But yeah, you're not allowed to name stuff after yourself. So it used to be that people would say, "Oh, I'm naming it after my father or after my wife," and take the surname. So it's basically named after themselves. That's been frowned upon. So people will tend to be a bit more wacky. I actually convinced a friend of mine, Stephen Vidovich, to rename a pterosaur Aerodactylus after the Pokemon. That's what happens when you have too many day drinks at a pub and are playing Pokemon when you're a group of paleontologists.
So, how many dinosaurs are in the first book? Ask me.
Wait, do some paleontologists name things after each other? And be like, even if it's not,
they trade it. Like, I can't name it after me.
It's just be like, I'll name it for you,
right? And then you name it for me.
Name it for me.
Yeah, exactly that. A trade.
Of course they do.
You and then someone ruins it by naming like a little blood-sucking mosquito after one of their friends, and then they get really upset and offended, and you can't have the name reused somewhere else either. So
like somehow dinosaurs are like were just really popular at Paizo. So there was me, right, and with my dad, but then there's also someone at Paizo who the creative director who has a T-Rex as his avatar. He loves dinosaurs. He backed the Pathfinder book like immediately for Drolan. And then one of my coworkers on the design team, I think his grandfather was a paleontologist. Like I wondered if like the Nyctosaurus boneri was named for his grandfather because that's like his last name with an I at the end, but I wasn't sure.
It might. I mean, it could be. I don't know.
I don't know.
The species name is often a little bit more less well known compared to the genus name. For most dinosaurs and pterosaurs, they tend to be descriptive names. So obviously, like Velociraptor means swift thief.
Right.
So that's a bit more what happens in vertebrate paleontology. The invertebrate stuff gets even more wacky though. It gets very strange.
So let me ask you, what prompted you to send me the book? Like they came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I watch you guys. I've watched you guys for a while, and I wanted to. I did send out a few. I mean, it wasn't just.
Oh, of course. Just now. Just me. No, I figured.
but honestly, one of the key things was that your backdrop. where you have all of those books. I was like, I want mine up there.
There you go. That's a good idea.
One of the things. Yeah, I'd seen you guys have been working, doing both Pathfinder and 5e for a long time, and doing it well. So I was like, I'll send you guys a book, see what you think, and then ask about the Pathfinder stuff.
Okay.
And it was well received. I recall. So
And it worked out as good. Probably couldn't have gone any better for you.
And we're just finishing off the Foundry module for the Pathfinder version as well.
Awesome.
Fingers crossed, in the next few months, that will then bring enough so that we'll fund the 5e version of the Foundry module for Dr. Schrolin's. And then we're also using the current Kickstarter, will be doing a Foundry version of the 5e version for Professor Premiers. So we're doing them one at a time, but in reverse order this time, where we're starting with 5e for Professor Premiers, then we'll do Pathfinder. Whereas for the Dr. Schrolin's, we're doing Pathfinder, then moving to 5e. But we plan on getting everything on Foundry, especially since the official VTT from Wizards is not looking so hot, right? So,
What was that? It's hard to hear you.
I'm just mumbling about the official VTT that was coming from Wizards.
Oh yeah, Sigil.
No, that's
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that was the one thing we were like, do we want to hold back for Sigil? No.
No, well, yeah, you never hold back.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
But anyway,
I would put it on Foundry.
So have you guys had a chance to have a look at our Kickstarter? Is there anything on the list of content that you are excited for?
I mean, I took a look before, and also I know I saw the list of potential dinosaurs when
Is there any dinosaurs
when Linda
left?
had it and showed it to my dad.
I want to know what's left. Like, how many dinosaurs
on
are
average, and don't forget, we're not just doing dinosaurs this time, but on average,
Right.
a new dinosaur is described every week. We could do this forever, basically.
there? Wow. All right.
But
Well,
there are some.
I like
up
the
there.
the Leviathan, or it's not a
Oh
Leviathan.
yeah, that's just got a great name.
So we've been having a lot of fun designing the rules for that. So that's an animal that was alive at the same time as Megalodon. It's basically a type of mega sperm whale.
Mhm.
So it gets in real life it would have had a sonic attack from its spermaceti organ on its head, and they're smart enough and large enough that they would be able to capsize ships. So we're giving it an ability to capsize ships, just to really mess with nautical themed adventures.
So if a new dinosaur is described every week, and you do a book every 2 years that has 300 dinosaurs, then that means that you will make up basically 6 years of dinosaurs in 2 years. So you'll go back 4 years. So all you have to do is put out enough books that you go back to the beginning of paleontology.
Maybe we're doing 81 prehistoric creatures in this book, including one that we haven't decided on yet because it's the community custom one, and 5 that are backers custom ones. Some of which are not like real animals. They're boss crazy monsters like we had with the 2 Spinosaurs.
Right, like wasn't there like that like magic using psychic dinosaur in there as one of the Kickstarter ones last time?
We did Wretchglow, the Last Light, which is it's kind of like a cross between an anglerfish and a Spinosaurus. And then we did Zuthu, the Prismatic Terror, which is another Spinosaurus, but it's like crystal encrusted with magic gems, and it can radiate energy and is bursting with power. So we had a lot of fun designing that sort of stuff, and there'll be a couple of things like that in this book as well, I think. So
yeah, let me see. I do like the Gigantosaurus.
That's another Kakarodontosaurid. So we had Kakarodontosaurus in the first book, but this Giga's like a bit bigger, I believe. Obviously, size estimates are always a little bit varied. But the thing with Giga is that it has an adaptation to bite really fast, which is quite an interesting and unusual thing. So we'll see how we've got some ideas about how we want that to convey into mechanics in a game. But imagine you're being chased by something that's kind of comparable to a T-Rex, but instead of biting you once or twice, it's biting you like 8 times. It's going crazy with its bite attacks. But we'll see. We want to make sure it's balanced as well, not too crazy. But
And you have actually, I do want to get. I don't have a printer, but I want that massive 3D model of the Paralitan. Is that how you say it?
Paratitan.
Titan, yeah.
Yeah, it's massive. I think it's going to be like that big. It's
I
like,
want that.
28 mil scale. It's huge. Yeah.
I want that. That looks cool.
I've got a printer, but it's not big enough to print that. I mocked it up ready to print. I was like, oh, oops. I'm gonna have to commission someone for this one because it's too big.
Well, I got the guy who did my minis. I'm sure he can print it for me if I want it. I get the file. No, I'm just looking. It's just endless. How many dinosaurs?
Oh no, there's almost too much stuff. We calculated it. We think on average it's going to be 270 pages just of the like stat block content. Probably more. And then there's the rest of the book as well.
Wait, so you have a full-time job. You guys have full-time jobs. How did you... And these books are pretty big. I know you only do one every 2 years, but that doesn't matter. I know people that don't do anything in 2 years, like... This is a lot. Like you just like coming home at night and gotta write another dinosaur. I mean,
yeah, literally. I mean, that's it. We're literally doing that. We're hoping that Paleo Games can bring us to a point where we can potentially do this as our like full-time careers. We're probably nearly at that now, but there's a lot of economic uncertainty at the moment. And
you think?
Our jobs. My job at Exeter is quite forgiving. And it's sporadic with a workload, so it's pretty compatible to doing side projects.
Let me ask you. See, this actually is interesting. Okay, I'm gonna tell a little story. So,
strap in.
It'll be a short one. I always like dinosaurs, but I've always been disappointed by dinosaurs in D&D. And I actually wanted to mention this a little bit of this topic is that. When they did the Isle of Dread, and there wasn't that many dinosaurs, and I don't think they were that great. And then I literally just did the not Carrying Crown, the Circus Adventure. What's the name of that one?
Extinction Curse.
Extinction Curse. And Extinction Curse, you go up. There's a chapter 4 where you go up against every type of dinosaur there is. The thing is interesting, at least in Pathfinder, the official dinosaurs they have, they don't go up that high. Like, the Tyrannosaurus Rex is like, I don't know, like level 11 or something, or 12. It's not that high. And they were just, like, really beating them up, and it was kind of anticlimactic, always fighting these dinosaurs.
We had it at level 10.
Yeah.
And the reason we did that was just sort of based on the idea that one creature of level X in Pathfinder is about as strong as two creatures of level X minus 2. So we started looking into things. It'd be like, okay, well, this is about how strong a troll is. This is about how strong each of these things are. And when we got to it, we're like, so about how strong would T-Rex be compared to some of these dragons, right? And it's probably about as strong as like some of the adult dragons, but not like the very strongest adult dragon, but not as strong as an ancient dragon. And just because it doesn't have a breath weapon, it's not like flying and doing all those other things, but it's big. And so we tried to put it in there with other creatures that are about equally strong, and that puts it in the middle of the pack in terms of its level.
So what I'm getting at is I've had, every time I've seen dinosaurs in D&D, it's been kind of disappointing. And it's usually a combination that either A, they're not powerful enough, or B, there's not enough dinosaurs. And then I look at this, and I think, okay, we got a lot of dinosaurs, and most of all, the best part is we got dinosaurs no one's ever heard of. So that's the best part. So if you mix it up and you put in T-Rex here and a Velociraptor there, but then put in a Bowlor, or, I'm looking at some of these dinosaurs here, or Mosasaurus or something. All these, or the Maya Koopa, whatever that in the African.
Matatuka.
Oh, I love that one. Maybe we need to join forces and have Linda Zayas Palmer write a dinosaur adventure. It's not a big one, small dinosaur adventure, Mark, using these dinosaurs.
I mean, yeah, I'm sure she could do it because she really, really knows those dinosaurs after converting them into Pathfinder.
Yeah. Well, I mean, breaking news. We are planning to do an adventure book at some point in the not too distant future.
Oh,
We've got some fun ideas, but there's so many dinosaurs and there's so many storylines that I think that it would be quite plausible to have more than one. Let's say it that way.
well, I'll come up with one. I mean, I think the Release the Kraken. I'm actually very excited to see I'm very excited to see Release the Kraken, Mark. That's our new adventure we're coming out with.
London's gonna have that in any day now, probably by the end of the week in a few days.
Okay, I really want to see that.
She got sick, and so we were gonna have it in on Monday. So you're gonna be able to see it, and I'll do my pass on it. But it's already looking good. She's shown me some sections of it. I think the players are gonna really enjoy some of the wild and outrageous sort of things that you can do, even though it's at 5th level, and it doesn't feel like it shouldn't be 5th level. Like, it is a 5th level adventure, but there's just a lot of interesting things.
I think we might have to join forces. I think I already know. You see, I think I already know. I think I would literally do a Jurassic Park type style adventure.
That's what everyone wants to do.
Well, that's why you do it, because everyone wants it.
Steven?
Yes.
I've got some good news for you.
Yes.
Just like how when we were doing Release the Kraken, it's like, we want to do one involving Titans. Wait, we already have an Indigo Isles Island for that. We have an Indigo Isles Island.
I know we do.
Where dragons made a Jurassic Park that's going out of control. It's not called a Jurassic Park. So we've already got one.
Have an island where within our world setting that this will take place.
Draconic druids who, honestly, the order that they belong to probably should be the order that's from Dr. Droland's Dictionary of Dinosaurs, because that didn't exist at the time. Then it was just like a short descriptive text. It didn't have rules for those druids. It just said that there was an order of them that was bringing back dinosaurs. But Droland's Dictionary of Dinosaurs has a druidic order that's like the across time, and we evolve and de-evolve and order, right? So it really is just a genuinely perfect fit for that pre-existing island in our setting.
Go for it. Why not? Yeah. There's a nagging voice in the back of my head that says to me that, Nathan, you should reach out to Universal and see if you can get a license to do a proper Jurassic Park or Jurassic World TTRPG.
It's not that expensive. You can do it. It's not that expensive.
Ask Modifius how they get all those licenses.
It's not even. I mean, yeah. I could find out from Free League and all that. It's pretty cheap, actually, believe it or not, because what else are they going to do with it? And they also know that there's a reason why.
It gives them advertising and keeps the brand valuable for them to do it.
They do it for a lot less than you think. It's not that hard. It really isn't.
Good to know.
Yeah, it's not that hard.
There we are.
Yeah, like, what do you imagine then, Steven? You're the business guy. You've got the business knowledge, right? There's the Alien RPG new edition that's doing really well on Kickstarter. What percent do you think they're paying for the license?
You pay an upfront cost.
Sure, but it's usually
and then
an
you
upfront
pay
cost
a percentage.
and a percent, right?
Anywhere from like 10
what
to...
will be your guess for the upfront and the percentage?
It could be, it could be 10 to 50, but it's probably closer to 10 to 30.
Is that
for the upfront?
Profit?
No. Like upfront would be like 5, 10, 15, 20, 25,000, something like that.
So somewhere in the 5 to 25 grand.
It could be, depending on it, could be more. It could be 50. It could be 100,000, but it's around there.
Is that 10 to 30% of the profit or the gross?
It would probably be gross. So it's not profit.
I thought it would be gross.
Yeah, it's based on whatever your sales are. So, but you have to be careful what you sell.
Which means you have to be, even though you say it's not that much, at 30, you have to be very careful, because if your profit margin is less than 30, you could wind up selling, let's say, like that Alien one, over $1 million, and then losing 5% of that $1 million in losses because the license costs more than.
Yeah, but those guys are smart, and also
I'm sure
they're
in
Europe, and
I'm sure they didn't mess up like that, Steven.
Yeah, you don't see those as much in the United States, just because I won't get into the business side, but it's way cheaper to make RPGs overseas right now than it is to make them here in the United States. So, and that's why you see like Everyday Heroes is doing properties like, Escape from New York. Like, these properties are basically not dead, but they cost nothing. almost nothing. Rambo, and
Right,
they're
whereas
able.
Jurassic Park would be harder to get.
That's going to be
than-
expensive no
than
matter what.
Escape from New York.
But it could be worth it because it's like, well, when I've done deals like this, and the answer is like, well, you can either do your own thing and make $100,000 or $200,000, or you could do a thing with us and make $2 million and pay us 30%. It's like, let me think about that. And so it's like, it's probably worth it, and that's what they bring. They bring that. Like that Aliens RPG. It's not only that I can't believe it. It's going to make over $2 million. It's not. It's a second edition, and the first edition just came out, so it's making $2 million on the reprint. It's basically an updated version.
It's not just a reprint, though. It's not a second printing. It is a second edition.
It's a second edition, but my point is,
it's a whole second edition.
I know, but it's kind of amazing that it's doing. I think it's doing better than the original, which is kind of incredible. So. But yeah,
I feel like it's a good time to be. We're in a good moment for third party publishers at the moment. It feels. We'll see how it lasts, but it's a good time at the moment. I'm quite pleased with how things are going.
So once again, do like and subscribe, because you'd be amazed how many people don't. I got 29 likes, 103 viewers, 29 likes, because no one has thumbs. Because you guys are all dinosaurs, and dinosaurs didn't all have thumbs, right? They all had claws. So you can't. You're having trouble hitting that button because the claw just goes off the mouse. We did have a super chat.
Oh, yeah, we just did.
Oh,
It was from Steven Saul, just in times. He said, "Thank you so much, Dr. Nathan, for making Dinosaurs awesome. I have a campaign going based on your book."
thank you so much for supporting us, and I'm glad that you like it. It's just me and Michael writing silly dinosaurs. We're just doing silly things at home, and then people like it. But I'm glad you're enjoying it.
This whole hobby, like, I think about that. I always think about that. I don't know. It's different when I was doing video games. I don't know. Video games had a lot more tactile feel, and you're doing code and technology, and you're actually producing. Like, I don't know. It seemed different, but this. Like, I went to GaryCon, and there's a lot of people at GaryCon who are publishers, and I'm thinking, man, all we're doing is writing books with weird ideas of like, here's a dinosaur, and here's some silly stats on the dinosaur, and people pay money for that. It's like, what a silly thing. But
Isn't that silly, though? Like, getting it right with the right science and good game design and mechanics is not that easy to do.
I would say we put. I probably underplayed the amount of effort that goes into writing the pages for each of them. I mean, we do a lot of research. Michael does most of the scientific research, and then I edit that. But that alone takes like a year just on writing that, just the science, let alone all of the other stuff, and let alone the stat blog. So. I guess maybe we should give ourselves a bit more credit than silly dinosaurs and silly book, but
Yeah, and I mean, Stephen, we should give ourselves the same amount of credit for our silly ancestries. It's the silly book, right? Or our silly elemental monsters in Elemental Storm. Like, you could say the same for any RPG book. I think you were trying to say the same for every RPG book, and not specifically just this book in general, but I think it's because a lot of effort goes into that. Like, if you were the GM and you were needing to homebrew all of that content, it would take you way too long to come up with it, and it wouldn't be as accurate to the science in this particular example, or sometimes to the game design or other things like that, and you might not have the same ideas. So I think there's a lot of value in these, as you call them, silly books, Stephen.
Well, anything when you look at it from an external, one of the reasons I do is because I've said it on the show a lot. My kids and my wife, they don't do any of this. They don't do anything like this. And so to them, it's just like super silly. And it's just like, and strangely, most of my friends that are outside gaming, they just don't, they have no idea or concept of what this is. But then you look at some of the things they do, and they might be doing acting. Or my brother's, you want to talk about the silliest, he does movies. You want to see something silly? Go on a movie set, okay? That is like, because especially now where they're in front of green screens and just being like, it's like it looks ridiculous. It looks absolutely ridiculous what they're doing when you take out the context of the special effects, and it's all silly. Everything's silly, you know.
Everybody thinks everybody else's things are silly,
right?
Or maybe everybody doesn't. You know what? I get it. So when other people do things that seem kind of silly, I'm like, no, that's just your thing, right? But you could turn anything that way, Steven. Like, you'd be why are you paying for these silly tickets to go see the Mets, the silly Mets? You could just hear about what their score was later, or you watch them on TV or any other thing.
Well, now
right?
you're in trouble because
I picked the thing that was the closest and nearest and dearest to your heart, right?
Yes,
I did that on purpose.
I know
because you could say that about anything.
Well, I know, and I was thinking that too because I just had my baseball draft. It's our 38th year, and we went to Pittsburgh, and we're sitting around, and we in 38 years. I mean, you want to talk about serious? I mean, this is like the most beyond hardcore. This is the hardest baseball league and fantasy, and we've been doing this so long, and everyone in this is an expert, and we are. But you know why? Because it's a way to connect, and because in the end, we actually do have a lot of fun. It's very silly, and it's something to talk about, to connect with, you know. And there's also something around it, which is a game, and that's it. I think in the end, everyone likes dinosaurs. And everyone likes telling stories, and that's all D&D and Pathfinder is. It's a way to tell stories with dinosaurs where you are in the story and interacting with them, even if it's just you talking. So
we feel like we are actually adding one extra thing to that, which is a form of education. So it is no joke that when we say, you know, outreach is one of our main goals of these projects. And we're now looking at what we can do to get as many copies of our books into schools in a way that's not going to be bankrupting for us, but also is essentially free for the schools as well.
Oh, well, you should talk to me because I have a whole connection to all the libraries, and they pay for them. You don't even have to give them for free. And libraries, they love these books.
We're looking at the UK to start with. We'll see what happens in a few days' time about shipping stuff to America, because it might be a little bit more difficult and expensive. But we'll see what happens. But
true.
But yeah, no, I'd actually sincerely love to take you up on that offer. And I want to get these books into what we call colleges in the UK, which are pre-university, so pre-college, so high schools in America, but for the kind of older age group, for, you know, kids that are like 15 to 18. I think that this sort of content can hopefully inspire more young people to be interested in not just dinosaurs, but science in general. And we have a firm belief here at Paleo Games that paleontology is a gateway science to, first of all, obviously geology, but then biology as well. And you know, people can make real positive changes to the world by getting into STEM topics.
So, are you saying that dinosaurs are a gateway drug?
Yes, that is exactly what I'm saying. Yeah.
Or at least your gateway drug. Let me ask you something.
Sure.
This is going to be out of left field. Do you watch Friends, or have you ever watched Friends?
I have watched Friends, yes.
Okay. I've seen very interesting articles going on about the dumbing of America, and one of the big ones is because of Friends. Because they said Ross Geller is a paleontologist who works with dinosaurs in a museum, which would have been any other time of your life the coolest job on planet Earth. And yet throughout the run of Friends, he is the butt of every joke for being into dinosaurs, for being smart, and being into science. And they always make fun of him on that show. And not in a fun way, in an actual pretty mean way.
Yeah. That's quite reflective of real life, if I'm honest.
Oh, really? So I wanted to hear, like, because I'm like, wouldn't that be like the coolest thing ever? And like, they're so mean.
Steven,
to him.
You're a big nerd. So am I. But
I know, but that's what I want to now. Well, now we get to from the source. So people make fun of you. Are you Ross Geller?
I think people who know you well do make fun of you when from my friends and that are in the field, in this field of research. Their friends and family don't take them seriously about their science, and I think that's pretty common in everything. Like if someone's a particle physicist and then their siblings just call them a nerd, right? That's pretty common. So yeah, I don't know if it's fair to say that that's part of the dumbing down of America. It is reflective of what those actual relationships are like.
I guess. I just always found it. I mean, I still watch Still's on every day because my wife loves it and my kids watch it, so I see it, and it always hurts me when I'm like, why are they making fun of Ross? Like, and he actually, you watch the whole series, he actually has a nervous breakdown, and I was like later episodes, I'm like, man, they are really mean to him. Like, that's how mean they are.
I think a lot of paleontologists don't have a soft spot for Ross because whenever we introduce ourselves as, oh, I'm a paleontologist, they go, oh, like Ross from Friends. Like, yes, like Ross from Friends.
Oh my god! So I really hit a nerve. People think I was pivoting weird. I see people.
It's been a while since someone said that to me. But I mean, when I was 10 years or so ago, like every new person I met, that was the go-to phrase. But yeah, not anymore, really, actually.
Wow.
At least you don't have archaeologists who they're like, I'm an archaeologist, like, oh, like Indiana Jones, so
Yeah,
you like fight Nazis and with whips and
yeah, that's got to be painful for them as well, I'd imagine.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, no, I knew someone who was in archaeology before going into like game design and development, and their roommate would sometimes like show them things with Tomb Raider where the archaeology was just they would just blow walls up and not treat it right.
Yeah,
and
like Lara Croft.
like, no.
There you go. That's so funny. I was just thinking, I didn't think about it, that everyone would actually call you out and say, oh, you're like Ross from Friends, which is great. So probably not for you, but for
No, it's not that great.
But it's not so bad. I mean, at least you got, hey man, you need something from every field. I'm trying to think if I don't know. I don't have the go-to in this field yet. So, I mean, you say you do D&D and they just look at you, or Pathfinder, like with
honestly,
a blank stare.
Trying to explain.
Oh, I don't bother.
Oh, now what do you? Oh, I say, oh yeah, I'm busy next Thursday, whatever. I've got a thing on. They're like, oh, what are you doing? Oh, I'm working on my book. Oh, you're a writer, are you? What sort of book? Is it a fancy book? No, it's a dinosaur book for Dungeons and Dragons. And they're like, what? That's all right, you know.
I still remember. I mean, this was a long time ago. This was like in the 80s or something. It's that someone called into Howard Stern back when he was like a super popular shock jock, and he was saying, what does he do? And he wrote the instruction manuals for gadgets for the James Bond RPG. And first, that's pretty cool, but second, boy, Howard Stern didn't even know what to do with that and just like tore him to pieces. And I was like, and I kind of can see both ends of it. I was like, wow, yeah, that is insanely good. Like, what are you doing? It's like I'm literally writing a book for a role-playing game on a fantasy, it's like on a fantasy character in a fantasy world and a fantasy game, on fantasy geek items that don't exist. It's like the inception of weirdness. But yet he got paid to do it. And same thing. It's like, what are you doing? It's like, well, I'm coming up with, but yours is at least, see, the thing about you is at least you're using real world dinosaurs. So you can learn, like I'm learning just going through this book of all these new dinosaurs that I never knew existed. So, and I see pictures and I'm like, wow, these are cool.
As opposed to real world James Bond gadgets.
Well, right. Or as opposed to real world, because like we are writing books about dragons and I decided we could just make up our own, and we're going to, and we just make up dragons.
Good ones at that. Yeah, you make good ones at that.
Yeah.
We spend a lot of time working on the science for the books to make it, to try and make it digestible, to make it so, because obviously we both come from academic backgrounds, me and Michael. So writing in a way that is consumable to the general public once you're a publishing scientist is actually quite difficult. So I think we've got it right. People seem to say that there's a good mix where there's enough information there, but it's not overly technical. Although I think the phylogeny sections probably still are, but that's kind of the nature of phylogeny. We can't not use the group names and the clade names, and they're always, no one can pronounce them.
By the way, we have a not a super chat. He says, "Thanks for being here, Dr. Bart." Is it Barling? Barling. Okay, I know there's no T, but I just wanted to make sure. Dr. Barling found out about this from the Kickstarter. Just bought the digital and physical version as well. You all do truly amazing work. There you go.
Yeah, thank you, Tom Solo. It's much appreciated. Seriously, it's weird. We kind of, I don't know if you guys have this as well, but as a writer, you'll spend countless hours sat behind your computer screen typing stuff up, and you sit there thinking, is this good? Do people like this? Is this rubbish? Am I just waffling? And then to hear people say that they actually like it is really it genuinely makes the hard work worthwhile.
Well, I'm the 1% who goes, nope. I think what we do is great.
There you go. Yeah, Steven, it's one of his special powers is to just really love his stuff and not have any imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
No, I'm actually the opposite. I actually want to find out and improve upon it. I don't think what we do... I try to find out what people liked and don't like and then try to make it better. In fact... This just happened that we released Living Spells yesterday for 5e, and someone came up with a better idea, right, Mark? And you gave it to me.
Yeah, they wanted to add a few classes onto the list of options for which spell lists you could choose to be a living spell of. So that, like, if you were a living energy, you could be based on sorcerer energy instead of wizard or druid.
So we
put it in.
Yeah.
In Pathfinder, we didn't have that issue to begin with because we just said which, if you were arcane or divine or primal or occult magic, and then that automatically covered every class in the game.
Yeah.
We actually had a similar thing happen quite recently with Professor Primulas, in that we released to our Discord the preview pages for the Neanderthal playable race, and we were quite conscious of how big this book is going to be, so we didn't want to be too OTT with writing, put too much information in it, keep the page numbers down. And our community said, no, this doesn't have enough real information about Neanderthals. It's not educational enough. So we went back to the drawing board, started again, rewrote it twice as long, and came back, and people were much, much happier with that. And I'm much happier with it as well. And I think it was the right call. So knowing where to take criticism and not get defensive, I think, is a really, really important part of writing in general, not just for TTRPGs.
Yeah.
But knowing also where to say, no, this is what we're doing.
Yeah. In fact, if you're going to be in the creative field, so when I first started in college, we would have what's called public critiques. This is where college really helps, is that, so what we would have to do is we would create something, and then everyone would take their creations and post them on the wall, or put them for display, and then everyone gets to talk about them, good, bad, and otherwise, and they get to critique it, and you have to take it, and it can be really brutal. And if you don't get through that, you will not become you basically won't do this for a profession, because they're being nice compared to the things I've seen. And you really have to learn to take it as truly constructive criticism and not take it personally. And the way I would say it to my artists, especially when you do so much, I think of it as soldiers going to war. It's like you publish so much stuff, you do so much, some are going to make it, some aren't going to make it. It's just like you can't hope everything's perfect, and some will be all-stars and become generals and be amazing. And you just gotta take it like that. And
absolutely.
Yeah,
I mean, we get the same sort of training because we're publishing scientists. There is nowhere that is more of a crucible of fire
exactly
than a peer review.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Goodness.
Oh yeah, because
Yeah.
you can also just get someone who's in it's especially depending on your field who's in like a rival subfield and just does not like your subfield.
Yeah.
Will basically take the opportunity to crap all over what you're doing, no matter what you put in there or how well you couch things.
But
And
they're
that
also,
can just be your roulette.
yeah, they're also competent and they know what
Yes.
they're talking about, and their criticisms are valid. That's what makes it so hard. But yeah, so it's part of the course, and we try and maybe we're too much of people pleasers. We do try and please people, but we also do know this is what we want to do. This is we trust our own knowledge of these animals and of our ideas about the stat block design. So, for example, you know that we do this slightly weird thing where we don't do away with the standard for 5e. We don't follow like expertise and proficiency to heart, because for me, I find that it doesn't allow us to really represent the animals as I would like. So if you've got we might want a species of animal to have a particularly high survival, but we don't want it to have a really, really high wisdom. That survival number, we want it to be relative to other animals in the book, or that survival bonus. So just giving it expertise, it might end up too similar to other stuff. So we kind of have a much more granular approach of, okay, well, this animal's just getting +5 to survival, and this one's getting +7. And when we first started designing stuff, we were putting in abilities that described it and said provided a small amount of reasoning behind it. So it's like, this is an intelligent problem-solving animal, therefore it's got an intelligence saving throw of +4, whereas even though its proficiency bonus would be +3. We started doing that, and we were finding it was taking up a lot of space. So we thought, you know what, trust our guts, take that out, have these what appear to be mistakes at the start, and just say, no, this is what we're doing. And yeah, it's been met with mixed feedback in different places. Some people hate it. Most people don't even notice, don't care. And I think that's one thing that we're doing that's like our stake in the ground. So we want to do this, and we'll see how it pans out in the long run. But it seems to be doing pretty well for now.
I wish that D&D Monster Creation let you just do that standardly, because I don't think any of the people who hate it and were complaining would be doing that if it wasn't for the fact that you're breaking a norm, right?
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
Pathfinder Monster Creation just lets you pick your number if you want to when you're making a monster. And it's really important because, as you discovered in your first game design book, you discovered a principle of monster design that's very important, which is that invisible abilities, where it's just like the players will never see this. All it's doing is passively changing this number into some other number that it could have just already had. They are just not a good use of space in the monster at all, compared to abilities that, like, if it was something else where you were saying, okay, this animal is more intelligent and therefore, like, when it focuses on this type of skill, like a giant brain appears in the air over its head and then gives it advantage on it, or some other thing like that, then the GM's rolling 2 dice, and then that's something the players are like, oh gosh, we saw this giant brain, and they saw the GM rolling 2 dice. But the fact that it's one number off, it just is not worth your words, as you discovered.
Yeah, exactly.
So
I'm glad I'm not alone in that.
So what's your favorite dinosaur in the world, not in just your book? Okay. In all of time, what is your go-to dinosaur?
Can you share any images on the stream? Can you bring up any images and replace us for a moment? Because I'd want to show off the picture, and there's a reason for this. But
sure.
If not, don't worry about it.
He can do it. He just needs a little setup.
Well, I need the picture.
And the picture.
So I'll get the picture and I'll send it to you on Discord. So now the reason this is my favorite animal, favorite dinosaur, is because it's my favorite fossil. And here we go. Sorry, everyone who's watching. It's
no worries. Actually, while you're doing that, I'll read a super chat.
Yes.
From Better with Bacon. who says, "My wife is an
Whoa.
archaeologist, Egyptologist, and I call her a paleontologist to annoy her all the time. I'd like to get my digs in. Get it? Dig."
Ah, we're so funny. We're all comedians here.
So my favorite animal, my favorite dinosaur is Duravenator.
Okay, hold on. I actually do have I have it. Hold on, because I am smarter than I
I
thought.
put it in the book. I put it in the
Yeah,
book
there you
because
go.
Wait, hold on. I'm just getting your image up. I'm going to show the image. Hold
It's
on.
probably going to turn out to be not a real animal, I would imagine, at some point.
What, Jorovenator?
Yeah, so there's this whole thing. So it's I haven't actually checked the phylogeny of
Oops.
it recently.
I
So
screwed up.
it's one of these things where a lot of these animals that are have previously been called compsognathids might just be juveniles of other taxa. So I'll have to reread my book to double check. But yeah,
It came in huge. I just got to resize it.
it might. So this is we think it might be a Maniraptoran or a Megalosaurid, but the fossil is stunning.
Okay, hold on. Give me a second. I'm almost done. And you will be Derek Melinda, but there you go. There's the
Derek Melinda has come to bring us a dinosaur.
Yes. Let's move it over a little. There we go. Yeah. So
I just love it. So I saw that I saw that in Germany. The real fossil on a field trip when I was an undergraduate at university, and I just fell in love. And I was like, "That's it. That's my boy."
How big is it?
This is my favorite.
how big are they?
Not particularly large. That sort of size.
It's like a dog. You could have it as a pet.
Yeah, exactly.
Never even heard of it. What's it called? A
Duravenator.
Juravenator. Are they in the book?
Yeah.
The first book or the second book?
The first book, you can have it as a familiar.
Oh,
So you can have it as a pet.
oh.
There you go.
Well, we're gonna add that to the adventure. We're gonna have like
there you go. Like
the quest keeper will have
Linda
one of
has
these
familiar
as
rules for
yeah.
it
What page are
that-
they on? I want to see this
in the
now.
Pathfinder 2, and you've got the 5e, so that's got
I know.
familiar on the
I do
monster
not have
page.
the Pathfinder version of the book.
Well, I don't think there is a physical Pathfinder yet
Oh,
because it's still on its way, right?
136. The part your copies. I need to wrap and send off hopefully next week. So
Oh, there we go.
there you go.
There we go.
I wrapped up the last of the Kickstarter backers books today.
there we go.
Wait.
Here he is. There he is.
That's our guy. And then I thought
He's
well,
looking up at the seagulls. He's like, "I'm going to go eat you, seagulls."
get the backers their books first, they're and then we'll get everyone else's out. I would really like to send out a whole bunch of copies to just random people as well. I'd actually quite like to send one to do you guys know Pirate Software on Twitch?
I do not. Do you,
No, you
Steven?
you got me.
He's a really, really big Twitch streamer, but I watch him occasionally, and in one of his streams he showed off that he really likes TTRPGs, and I only saw it in the very corner of his screen, but he held up a bunch of books and it looked like they were all Pathfinder. So I was like, all right, well, I want to send him a copy of this because I think he'll really like it.
Yeah.
He's very pro science as well. So, but one thing I'm finding is it's quite difficult to send people stuff when they're big. Like, so in Professor Primula's, one of the new subclasses, the College of Education Bard, is inspired by Hank Green, and I want to tell him that. I want to message him and just send him a copy of. I don't care if he ever tweets about it. I'm not looking for any promo whatsoever. I just want him to know that he's the reason I created that, and then work with Bone Wizard to make it awesome. But it's so difficult to get a hold of him. He's got like a filter on his social media, so he only sees stuff when it gets over a certain number of likes. So even unless like 16,000 people are liking your tweet, he won't see it. So and there's no contact emails or anything. So
Yeah.
but I suppose it's the same for all celebrities, right?
Is he a celebrity?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, then, if
If
he's
you
a
have 1.2 million
okay.
subscribers,
Well, then
on
he
Twitch,
definitely. Well, then you do it as a business inquiry. That's how you get in touch with them.
Oh, I mean, I've tried that with for Hank Green, and yeah, that's still not gone anywhere. But
You
we'll
gotta
see.
try it
I'll
more than
try.
once. You gotta do it a couple times. That's why.
it looks like this pirate software guy is ex-Blizzard. Maybe he knows your ex-Blizzard friend, Steven, although Blizzard is so gigantic that I would
What's his?
doubt
If you
it.
give me his real name, I might be able to might be able to get in touch with him.
It says his name is Thor on the page.
Oh,
It's his
Thor?
Thor.
Yeah, I actually think I do know him.
Oh, there you go.
No, I don't, but I think I'm
But
gonna.
you think John?
Yeah, I'm
knows?
gonna ask John right now. I think
Okay, there
I've
you
heard
go.
his name before. I mean, I do know. I'm
I've heard
99%
it- I think
sure.
I've heard the name Thor before as well.
Yeah, he's a big deal. Both at Blizzard and obviously now since.
Yeah, I'm just writing him. I'm positive John knows who he is, and
There you go.
so I just wrote John. See if
He runs a ferret sanctuary now as well,
What?
which is
Dave,
it's just the most wholesome thing.
That's pretty wholesome. Wow. Well, if you could, I'm sure you'd run a dinosaur sanctuary. So what's going on in the back of your? I see you have a mountain of minis. Are you one of those?
I am one of those. So there's a Warhammer.
I was about to say, is that was random minis or is that a Warhammer?
Warhammer. There's lots and lots. That's probably a tenth of my collection.
Oh my
Like,
lord, you're one of those. Okay, so what armies do you run?
So I've been collecting for like 25 years.
Oh,
let's,
okay.
let's first of all frame that. And my main army is Chaos Space Marines, but I also have Renegade Imperial Guard, Chaos Knights, Chaos Titans, Tyranids, regular Space Marines, which are Sons of the Phoenix, if anyone cares, Necrons. I also play Seraphon / Lizardmen, fancy, and I have a Seraphon Blood Bowl team. Goodness, what else? I play Halflings for Kings of War. That's everything that's on display there. I've then obviously got a stupid number of D&D minis and a stupid number of dinosaur minis, which are all just in boxes and mostly behind me in that cupboard. But I have my own 3D printer as well, so no one can stop me, not even myself, basically.
No one can stop me, not even myself. Not even I
just
can't
love
even
me.
stop me.
Yeah, for me, it's almost a bit upsetting that D&D is doing so well digitally, and that everyone I know just plays on VTTs, because I love minis and terrain so much, but it is an awful lot of effort to have stuff printed and painted and
Well,
set
it's
up.
not even that. It's just that it becomes. I don't know if I want to get into the whole diatribe. It's like when you play in person, you can play in person, but you play in person short-term things because people move on. Like, so I've been playing with the same group, and we played in person, and then suddenly we all lived in Manhattan. We all played together. We all lived in New York. Well, now none of us. One lives in Manhattan, and I live outside New York. Chris lives in New Jersey. John lives in Ohio. Jason lives in Pennsylvania. You know, it's like, so we either play online or I have to find new people to play with, and I'd rather play with these guys. So it's not that you don't want to play, but they're going to be shorter term games, or they're going to be pickup games like Warhammer type games.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right. So, and that's just the way things are. You know, it's just like, so the technology has changed. And
So here's the dream, right? Here's the plan: is that the next Kickstarter makes £2-3 million. I buy a massive mansion with different wings in the buildings. Have everyone come and live there, and then we just play in D&D every night. That's the plan, right?
you know,
You buy a massive mansion with 2 or 3
I was
million
like 2 or 3
pounds?
million, man. That's
That doesn't
I need
sound
to
like
I
it's
need to leave
enough.
this country because that's called a house.
No, you can't. Is the answer?
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough.
You
I
can
mean, I
actually-
guess if it was out in the middle of the countryside by enough that it was really inconvenient and the person was trying to unload it, maybe you could get some kind of a mention.
You probably actually around here, because I live in rural Devon. It is quite expensive around here, but it's not London or New York prices by any means.
Sure.
So for about £1.2 million, you can buy like, or 1.5, you can buy like a pretty sizable place that could probably house 3 or 4 families. But it would be pretty close knit. Anyway, we're getting a bit off topic. one of my partner and I's favorite pastimes is we have a website in the UK called Rightmove, which is just like a catch-all housing housing sale thing. We just like to go and look at the multi-million-pound houses and just see how the other half live, right? That's basically what we like to do. It's quite a common hobby, I think, in the UK. Lots of people like to do that.
Yeah. I always had that dream, and yet I have rooms full of stuff, but I have no one to play it with, so
Oh dear.
it goes the other way.
That's horribly sad.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
No one around here it's just, I think it's just where I live. It's just I can't find anyone, and I've tried many times, and it's just the few people I do, they're more into like Magic, or they're more into other games, and it's just
Magic's so popular.
yeah, like that's popular. That's why I pretty much play online. It's because I find my friends there, and the people I know are all over the country, and the other thing is, and this is the weird one. It's quite slow when you're playing in person. Some of these games is actually you play them online, and then they just go so fast, and then you play them in person. And it's like really kind of slow, and just like you realize how much automation helps some of these games.
It really does. It really makes a massive difference.
Yeah. Well, what game we used to play a lot in person was Titan. And half of Titan was just like arguing over the rules and like figuring it out because it's so complex. There's a computer version of Titan, and I tell you, the games that used to take us 2 hours, I can play in 5 minutes now on Titan, like on the computer version.
So what I think the perfect dream middle ground for me is having a table with a TV sunk into it and having digital play, but you're all sat together and everyone has a laptop and stuff.
Well, that's what D&D. That's what they wanted to do. That was the dream. Remember, that was Project Sigil.
Yeah, well, that was anyways. It was. So to get us back to the shameless self-plugging back to the Kickstarter, there was a thing that we're adding to Professor Tremula that I think you might be interested in, Mark, which is the time travel butterfly effect system. So I saw on one of your previous streams that you were chatting about time travel effects and how they are usable in TTRPGs and the best ways to go about them. We've come up with something that I think is maybe a little bit left of field, in that we're not doing any guidance on how to run time travel. We're just doing a system or a series of systems for accumulating butterfly effects. So changes that a dungeon master can make to their world as a result of time travel, because obviously time travel is probably the easiest way to introduce prehistoric creatures into your setting, other than just chucking them in. And then a series of like almost mini quests to undo it. So how does that sound to you? Do you think that sounds silly, or do you think that sounds fun?
I think that it probably depends on your group, how you would handle that. I think for a lot of groups, just like if there's dragons and there's like the Tarask and all this other stuff, there can just be dinosaurs that are still around because it's not Earth if you're not playing in Earth. But definitely with time travel, I would say that having quests to try to like reverse back the butterfly effects or the paradox, like in the real world, if there was time travel, presumably your attempts to undo the butterfly effect would actually just make it worse by creating other butterfly effects. But in a fantasy game, that is the kind of thing that people expect to see. So I think
Yeah.
it sort of makes a fantasy gamey sense that you can do that. I might imagine something almost like in like Mage, the Mage RPG, where you acquire paradox points when you do things that are against the nature of reality. I could see like the PCs building up paradox, and like when you hit different thresholds, bad things happen, and then they're trying to reduce the number of paradox points or something like that.
Literally exactly the system. So we've came up with the system, which is you either the players can they earn these butterfly effect points, or the dungeon master can just roll each time they do a certain thing, and then but the kind of the idea is that they have like one of the Order of Time druids, or another NPC kind of guide the party into how they might be able to resolve it. And because we're dealing with butterfly effects, the solution can be remarkably simple. It might be that you have to take a seed from one side of an island and take it to the other side and plant it, or you have to protect a small lizard from some other big animal. But yeah, we that's pretty much right on the nose exactly what we were planning. But we'll see how it fares through playtesting. But that's one thing I'm really quite excited about, and I've been secretly, hopefully they're not watching, secretly doing for my players right now in our campaign.
And they don't even know how many of these butterfly paradox points that they've picked up. They're going to come back and find out that the reptites won, and in the presence that now all humans are gone and just dinosaur people are here.
I actually just been lining up to use a creature from your book, you guys.
Which one?
Is it the what's it called? The Temporal Manifestation. That was it.
Oh yeah.
I've been reading through that. I'm really excited to throw that out my players.
I think that there's also a family that won platinum for the one that's coming out very soon, Elemental Storm, where it has these 3 different ones. There's like the parallel present, the paradoxical past, or no, maybe the paradox. Like there's 3 different ones for the past, present, and future that all got messed up, and they have they follow along that line. I think they would work very well with the kind of time travel thing that you're using.
Yeah, I'm really, really excited to throw that as a curveball to my players who have been fighting nothing but dinosaurs for 20 sessions. Suddenly having time elementals, sucking them into other dimensions is going to be
like what? He could throw something other than dinosaurs?
It's a temporal paradox family. It's the paradoxical past, the parallel present, and the pruned future.
The pruned future. That's right. It's the future that could never be because its past was destroyed.
And next to that one is the dinosaur creature created by Kelsey Dion, the pterodactyl. Actually, I gotta say
terror. Terror.
Pterodactyl.
Very funny.
I have to show. I'm gonna send you the picture.
I can have super chat as well, by the way.
Let me get to it. I was trying to look for what the names of those creatures were because I have the list, and Steven got it before me. The Kickstarter. The question is from Nate Bob 5. Is the Kickstarter for D&D 5e only? So that is an interesting question because
that is an interesting question, and there is an interesting answer.
Sort of.
So we have so many people. We always planned on doing 5e and then Pathfinder because 5e's maybe Shadow Dark in the future. 5e's the biggest, right? There's like 20 million players. So that's the thing that we can make sure that we're getting the funds needed to make the book, to pay our artists, to pay our design team, to pay ourselves, to make sure that it's all actually done properly. We then want to obviously there's a lot of people that don't want to use 5e after the OGL. Totally fair enough. We were considering shifting to Pathfinder as well. So we want to do Pathfinder at the very least as an extra one. So many people messaged us saying that they wanted Pathfinder immediately for Professor Primulas that we've added it as a stretch goal. We've added it as a lofty stretch goal because concurrent working on both versions concurrently will be more expensive, and we need to pay for a separate print run and then warehousing of that as well, and separate distribution. So the plan was originally we were going to do this Kickstarter, and then we were going to do a Pathfinder Kickstarter later, exactly like we did with Dr. Drolin's. But we've added in this extra stretch goal at £300,000 to just unlock it immediately, and then we can put loads of money into doing that concurrently. It looks like we're either going to make it or just fall short of it in the next few days. If we fall short of it, we will be still making it, but we won't be doing the print run, and we'll do a Kickstarter to raise funds for the print run, because it costs quite a lot to print a large number of these books, and it's going to be a massive book as well. I mean, it's going to be stupidly big. So that's basically the plan. If you're wanting to try and get us to that mark, we've added in a build your own pledge tier where it's a $5. The reason why it's a $5 is because the add-ons are slightly discounted versions of some of the other stuff. So if it was just a $1, £1 one, then it would usurp the pledge tiers themselves. But what we will do is the moment it looks like we're about to hit that mark, we will add in the Pathfinder versions as add-ons, and people can go to either change their pledge or just pledge for the £5 build your own and build it. Or if they want the 5e stuff as well, then they can just add it as an add-on. And we will obviously be adding it. We will be running we'll have a pledge manager running afterwards, and we will be taking some late pledges. And we're just now looking at Backakit have actually just introduced a new thing where you can have stretch goals unlocked in the late pledges. So we might be able to have it be unlocked anyway as a late pledge. But we shall see. Currently, I need to have a quick word with them. I literally only saw that yesterday, so I need to have a sit-down email with them and back and forth about the logistics of how that all works. But the short answer is yes, it is coming to Pathfinder. It's just a case of when.
So, by the way, here is the Chalcedon pterodactyl.
Oh, I like that.
It's like hammerhead shark with a pterodactyl, or one of the dactyls, quite large, as you can see by it's holding a shark.
Can I offer a scientific critique?
Of course.
Okay, so pterosaurs, one of the defining features of pterosaurs is that they have a single wing finger, which is basically their pinky finger, which extends out, and they have no other extensions of bone to hold up that membrane. It is a single sheet membrane. So the wings on this design make it explicitly not a pterosaur. But then it's not a pterosaur anyway because it's a pterodactyl.
Yeah, it's a pterodactyl. It's not even an animal or a dinosaur. It's like a magical creature.
Yes. Because how does it see with its eyes on the side? It's got magic.
It's got magic. A wizard did it.
Yes. How does it hold itself up? There's holes in its wings. It's magic. So.
Maybe the terror part of it is that it actually terrifies paleontologists because it doesn't have the pinky finger. And so it's got a visual effect where anytime a paleontologist sees the pterodactyl, they have to roll a will save or become like frightened and just like a little bit unnerved by the fact that its wings just don't look quite right.
We might end up putting something like that in a future book where it's like, because we've introduced so many like backgrounds and subclasses and archetypes of being science themed. You can be a paleontologist, you can be a geologist, you can be an archaeologist, whatever. I might have a creature that's like, oh, if you're one of those, this messes you up.
Man.
See, well,
it's like the anti-science creatures.
Well, keep in mind, we work backwards because we're given the monster and its abilities. So the art is based off the abilities of the monster. So that's why it probably has hands, because it probably needs
It may have abilities for that. I don't even remember.
Actually, I have it right here.
Yeah, does it like have claw abilities that are different than its talons?
It has jaws and talons. That's why.
So the talons are on the bottom. So the ability didn't imply that it had those extra claws on the top. Then.
Well, I liked it.
I mean, it looks cool. It looks cool.
It dropped from
Yeah,
above.
it does look cool. It's a great monster. I'm just
Swooping
being
bite.
Also, would those holes in the wings make it difficult to fly?
It uses magic.
It uses magic is the first answer. But there's plenty of animals that are capable of. I mean, yes, it makes it harder to fly, but there are plenty of animals that are capable of flight with damage to their wing membranes. But basically, this is why birds are so prevalent, because feathers as a flight integument are a fantastic adaptation because it's modular. You can have damage to part of it and basically like spread out to cover the damage and regrow individual parts. Obviously some wing membrane for like bats can regrow and stuff, but it takes more effort to damage feathered wings than it does membranous wings.
That is an outstanding scientific answer to my just kind of my casual question about the art. So I'm glad to know that, and that actually makes total sense about why birds are so dominant in the sky.
Just remember, whenever something happens and it's never explained, a wizard did it.
Yeah, well, that's a well-known fact.
How is it wizard? How is it wizard? Wizard. It's always a wizard. It's from The Simpsons. Someone asked me when Elemental Storm's coming out soon-ish.
We have all the text in except for sidebars that are usually done during copy fitting. So it's about layout and copy fit.
Yeah, now I finished the layout and now I got to get graphics, and there was some miscommunication between me and the artist on the graphics. So
how is your writing team, guys? Because you have so much text in your book as well.
So when it comes to that, for our like in-house team that does the development passes, anything like that, and a lot of the writing, that is entirely me. But we have freelance writers who we hire to do some of the initial writing of certain sections. And when you're talking about those bestiaries, there was a contest. So every page you'll see a different name on it for the contest winner who wrote that. But keep in mind that this is a contest for amateur game designers. So obviously the in-house team has to do some significant effort on it. They always have really creative ideas. It's only the best ones that win. But even then, they're not always up to the standards of like a professional game designer who's done dozens of these, and we don't expect them to be. We'll make them that way during our when we polish them in-house, and they'll be the best they can be.
I did when I saw your competition many moons ago. I did consider, this was before I'd written Dr. Drolins, I did consider submitting a dinosaur to it. I thought, I had a bit of a loss of confidence, and I was like, oh no, they won't like it. It's just a dinosaur.
I think it could have done well because people like dinosaurs. So the fans might have voted it in because they'd just be like, yeah, I like this dinosaur.
People like dinosaurs. Will all my Secret Dragon books be before Elemental Storm? In PDF, yes, most likely, because Battle Dragons is pretty close-ish. It's closer than... It's in a weird spot.
It's closer than Elemental Storm? I wouldn't be able to say.
It's about the same.
If you get the art and the copy fitting, to me, from my perspective as the word guy, Elemental Storm is way better than Battle Dragons because the words have been done for weeks.
Well, I'm now waiting on art, and art is the trickiest because...
Of course art is the trickiest. I'm just saying.
Forever.
Whereas Battle Dragons... It's going to be probably on Friday. The stuff other than the stretch goals and massive expansions of the book that were added after the initial impetus will be done. But due to the fact that all the Secret Dragons had massive stretch goals and additional things, there's still going to be weeks of before all that layout and then extra text and the extra Great Worm stuff is all added into that book. So I would say, obviously, Stephen, you're the only one who has eyes from above from the sky on every aspect of this book, but from my perspective at least, Elemental Storm is way more likely to come out sooner.
Maybe only because I have now, this is the 7th dragon book we've done, and I'm getting it down to kind of a science. It's kind of cranking, so it's going.
I do love that you guys have managed to like come up with new dragon types that are like the battle dragons. That's such a cool idea. And I don't think I ever would have thought of something like that. I would have been just like, oh, we'll do an element, oh, we'll do a plant or fungus or whatever. But having it be like almost a concept like that, I think is so cool.
That one was Steven's idea,
That was my
the
idea.
battle dragons. He just wanted ones that were really getting into battle war. And so certain things are my idea and certain ones are Steven's idea. Like I was more fairy dragons and to an extent leshy dragons, but you can also say Ginny D because Ginny D came up with the toadstool dragon for our first dragon book, and I said let's make them part of a family called Leshy Dragon. So that's like a kind of shared custody. But fairy dragons, I was like, we need to do this because every single person keeps asking us whether the non-true dragon, fairy dragon, the little one, is in here, and we keep saying only the true dragons are in here. They keep wanting it. So we need a family of true dragons that are fairy dragons so that we can square the circle on that.
I might share a tiny secret, which is there might be some dragon stuff in our distant future coming up.
Oh, wow.
There you go. Yeah,
weren't there like one of the magic versions of one of the dinosaurs in original Drollins was like this dinosaur is a magical version that's like also interrelated with dragons and it has this one additional special ability or something like that?
Yes, that's Bolong. So Bolong.
Yes, that's right, because long it means dragon in
but it's a type. I think it's an iguanodontid, not an iguanodont. Not an iguanodon, an iguanodon. This is where phylogeny is stupid. All the words sound the same, but they mean different things.
Right, because iguanodon is a specific one, and iguanodont is a grouping, and iguanodontid is a different grouping.
It's a broader grouping.
Yeah, it just goes out more.
Let me get it. It is on page 48, 49. So this guy looks nothing like a dragon, but he is called Bolong. Which means Bo's dragon, because a guy called Bo found it, so we gave it a ability to. We didn't want to just give it a breath weapon that's like a cone or a lime. So we gave him, and we wanted to have. I really like the idea of control in combat. I like the idea of forcing movement and making people interact with making players interact with their surroundings a bit more. So we gave it a spit fireball attack, which then makes an area of ground dangerous. In the Pathfinder version, I think we renamed it to like spit ash. I think it was because there was. I think it's because Linda said that there was a. This is me trying to recall something from a year ago. There was already a terrain effect of like hot ash. I believe I might be wrong on that, but that's what
I'm not sure. I don't remember from looking at either of the two of them. I just vaguely remembered one of them was a dragon based. So there you go. Well, everyone likes dragons. So
everyone likes dragons, and there's ways that we can use that to do more science education. We have plans. So
science education with dragons. Now you have me interested.
Yeah. There's we've got so many ideas. I think if I were to spill the beans, we've got like 6 books planned that we want to do. All sorts of really fun stuff. All like that we know we can do, is content that we're confident that we can write. It's just finding the time. Like we're not in a position where I can pack in my day job. I mean, the UK is in a pretty rough spot economically after Brexit. So that's just the world we're in. But I'm very fortunate in that I'm able to work on these books in addition to my sort of day job. So, but maybe who knows? In a few years' time, it might be all I do, and then we'll be getting these out. Probably not as fast as you guys, but we'll be trying.
Well, we're insane, so I still don't think we do it. I got to get faster. That's the thing that drives me nuts.
I can't believe, Mark, that you do most of the writing with that. That is such a huge volume of text.
I would say at this point, I no longer would do most of the writing because I would say at this point, we probably have more than half of things have been freelance. But there were some years where I did over half of the writing.
I do all the editing, though.
Yeah.
And
Steven does the layout for most things.
layout.
He's been getting some help.
I do 99% of the layout because I have to redo it after it's done by someone else because it's
just so happened that one of my good friends is a professional book editor. So that's one of the reasons why Dr. Drones looks so nice, is that we knew someone who could do it properly.
I will say editing
also technically the developmental design passes that we do on, like, they are a type of editing as well. It's just in the RPG field, it's not usually given an edit credit because edit credit is for things like copy editing and certain other things.
I'll tell you, this is like, I'd say 90% is always fine and I don't have to do anything. 8 or 7% requires some editing or changing of words, or might be a little confusing, but then there's like 3% that I actually just have to rewrite. So
that's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's very good, I would say.
Well, it's because it's usually gone through me before it got to him. So I try to help him with that, and
that's why it's so high that I don't have to do that much. Yeah. And it depends what
authors have different specialties, right? And there are ones who I know going in from them that their prose is immaculate, and it's probably without my help, Stephen would be able to do that with the 90%. But then there are other ones who are like, their prose is actually not their strong point, but their ideas are brilliant. They think of things nobody else would have thought of. They have real world knowledge to back things up that other people just wouldn't have had. And so when you have someone who that's their expertise, then I need to do a heavier pass on the prose, but maybe less on the mechanics. And then Steven needs to make sure he does a pass on those as well. And I usually give Steven a heads up too. If I'm like, this is from someone who prose was like not their strongest
I'd say
point.
85% of my rewrites is prose. That's the vast majority.
No matter how much work you put into it, it goes to the public and 1,000 eyes go on it, and then the errors appear.
It's what it is.
Sort of.
Steven didn't understand that at first. At the very early days, he was like, I want to fix 100% of all of them.
We're getting pretty close.
Steven will never get 100. We can get to like 99,
but we're
maybe even
damn close.
99.5 or something like that.
Yeah,
we'll never get it all, and it makes me because I also want to fix them all.
But I do put it through, and this has been a big help, is I do put it through the automated checkers. And like I tell people, you got to use them. And the main reason is not to rewrite your stuff. They're very good at finding missed words. That's like the number one thing I use it for. It just happened. I just found something where you forgot an A or forget an of. Because your brain will just put it in. It's just part of, like, when you read, you just do it. You'll never see it, but the computer always finds them. Always.
I've also been finding false positives from those, though. So
you
have to be careful.
No, you can't. I never press the button and just say accept, but I do read it. And I would say whenever it finds stuff, less than 50% of the time I will ever use their suggestions.
Google Docs is already flagging a lot of those for me in blue.
Oh, okay.
It just kind of does that. And I find that Google Docs is wrong about it, about like 1 in 3 times, 1 in 4 times. So it's usually right, but it's wrong about a decent amount of the time. And I think the reason why, it's probably not these guys' fault or any of these grammar checkers, but it's just mainly that like our fantasy words are so weird, of words that are low probability words or made up, that whatever automated AI system they're using to try to calculate things is just like 60% of the words in this sentence that weren't just a or the are gibberish. I don't know what this sentence is. I think that's why it's messing it up
for us. Like basically the automated checkers and automated spell checkers and grammatical checkers, the scientific terminology just absolutely froze not a spanner, but it throws like a crowbar in the works, and it basically can't.
Oh, John got back to me. Is it Thor Bayfor? Bayfor?
I don't know. It just said my name is. I looked on the channel when Nathan talked about it. It just said, "Hi, my name is Thor."
It's got to be him. And
How many Thors?
Exactly.
Were,
How many
like,
Thors are
prominent
there?
Blizzard
Oh.
people who then
Oh,
worked
John
at...
wrote. He goes that he knows him.
Okay, see, so Steven's
Brilliant.
friend from Blizzard does know him.
Wonderful. I would love to send him a copy of the Pathfinder, but I'll send him both. I'll send him a 5e as well, and just see if he likes it. Doesn't have to show it. Doesn't have to do anything. Don't care about promo stuff like that. Just want to know if he likes it, basically.
Hold on, I'm just writing him. He knows
So
him.
have you guys? So I know, Mark. We talked about how you have a family history of paleontology, right? Have you?
Or amateur paleontology in any case.
It didn't sound that amateur from the description earlier.
It's very into it amateur,
Yeah.
I would say. So
I would say so.
my dad is a very avid amateur. Like, it's not his job, but like, I guess I was, for some time, a very avid amateur in game design and TTRPGs until I became an actual professional in it. But
So, of the list of stuff that's coming in, Professor Primulus, is there anything there that is totally unknown to you, or things that look obscure but you recognize and are excited for?
So I don't know as many of the things as my dad did, but there were a few that he had to look up when he was looking at the list, because Linda showed it to him when you initially sent over the list before the Kickstarter started. And he was saying, "Oh yeah, that some of them he had not seen before and he liked. Others he hadn't seen before, but he was like, this is just another X thing where X was whatever thing. It's like, oh yeah, that's the one that's kind of looks like another pterosaur. I don't see why it's more interesting than the ones that are there. I don't like this one as much." And so I think he sent you back a list of at least his top favorites from that. And that included a lot of the ones he had to look up because he was impressed that they were so obscure.
Yeah, there was one he actually requested. I think
Tully Monster, right?
Oh, Tully Monster. That was it, not Anomalocaris. Yeah, Tully is one we wanted to put in, but we couldn't. Like, it basically it was on the list and then it got cut, unfortunately. Not through wanting to cut it, through licensing issues. So
it's one of his favorites. He has plushy Tully Monster in the museum.
Such a weird animal. We don't even really know what it is, really. But yeah, that's one. One of the things I think that's difficult with the really early fauna like that is the size. Like, Tully Monsters, it's really small. Like, almost everything from that sort of timer is very, very, very small. Another one's Hallucigenia. People have been asking for, which is this like worm-like thing with spikes and legs, but people don't know which way up it is. But again, it's like 2 or 3 centimeters long. So writing rules for that are compelling, I think, is quite challenging, unless we do a magical variant that's just gigantic.
That's a good point. Or a swarm, but they maybe didn't actually ever congregate in swarms, so that wouldn't make sense.
I mean, the earliest life as well on Earth is not exactly mobile. It's basically a glorified sea slug, but not a sea slug, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. Some of those early ones would not have been dangerous enough to really be an opponent. It's like, is a trilobite really dangerous enough that you're going to lose to a trilobite?
I mean, some
a regular
trilobites
one
got like that big, so it's reasonably sized. You're not going to lose to it, but we'll see what we come up with, or we might do swarms. But for one of the animals, let me see if I can. Plectinoceras, that's the name. I had to double check that to make sure I was pronouncing it correctly. Plectinoceras is a small mollusk, but it's among the first shelled animals, and it's got a weird little pointy shell. So it's, for its standard rules, it's going to be like a CR0 nothing. It's essentially the equivalent of a cross between a snail and like an ammonite, like a little squiddy thing. But we've designed for its magical rules for it to be the first wizard. So we're going to have it be like a level 20 wizard, because why not? and you just have to deal with that. So
There
you're
you
all
go.
walking around, stomping around, crushing snails, and then one of them casts Dimension Door, and then Fireball at 9th level. You know, whatever.
The snail that turns out to be a 20th level wizard reminds me of those old, like, early internet lists of like top 101 comedy lists that they had, like, way back when it was AOL and CompuServe and things like that. They would have lists that were like, these are the 101 ways that you have a Monty Hall GM, but then there's the 101 ways your GM hates you, and one of them was you try to steal from the shopkeeper and find out that he was a retired 22nd level elf mage. And that seems to fit right in. You step on the snail and find out it was a 20th level wizard.
Yeah, that's still common. But you guys don't do that. I mean, I still do that.
You still do that where they try to steal from and the others were like trees randomly explode for 20d6 fire damage. No explanation is given. It was an old list back in the day. They also had like 101 ways ways that like familiars or no, sorry, that your apprentices mess up for the wizard, or the last things you want to hear your apprentice say, something like that. Is like, that weird owl that's been constantly bugging us for some reason? I finally killed it today.
Brilliant stuff.
So
yeah.
I gotta start wrapping stuff up because I got another meeting at 5 my time.
All right.
So why don't you? So what is going on in the next few days for Dr. Dementus's crazy dinosaurs?
Professor Primula.
That's
Portfolio of paleontology.
We're heading into the last. We're in the last week of the Kickstarter campaign. It's gone far beyond what we ever thought it would. So we are immensely thankful for everyone who's supporting us. And we've unlocked everything. We're just the Pathfinder version to go, which, as I said, we'll be doing anyway. It's just a matter of the print run coming sooner or later. So we've got a few more ads going out. We've got Dungeon Dudes, Crit Crab, and Paleo Analysis. So keep your eyes peeled on YouTube for those. And yeah, it's basically now we're in a point where we kind of sit back and see how it ends. And we're already mapping things out for what we're going to be doing going forward. Not just with Professor Primula's, but as I said, the long-term plan. We've got these 6 book ideas, including a third in the alliteration series, which we are continuously arguing over what we want the title to be. My wife has become very fond of making it really dumbing it down and having it be Barbarian Bob's Book of Beasts. But I'm not so sure about that. We have a name suggestion probably once a day for the next book.
I feel like if it still is like archaic real world animals, that Barbarian Bob's Book of Beasts doesn't give me enough information as a potential new consumer who doesn't know your series to realize that that's what it is. I might have thought it was like any amount of basic beasts that were not dinosaurs and like Paleozoic creatures and stuff like that.
Yeah, so we've got several working ideas, but that's definitely in the pipeline. And then we've got an adventure book. So I think that the funding from this Kickstarter is so monumental for us that we will be able to come at future Kickstarters with much more completed content, which is what we're really excited about. But right now, our focus is on working through Professor Primula's. So we're busy beavering away already, writing, and we've got our playtesting sorted now, and our team's sorted with that. So yeah, that's basically it. And then, how long have you guys got left on your Kickstarter as well now?
Till next Friday.
Yep.
Friday. A little bit longer. No? Yeah, a little bit longer than us. Well, ours ends on Monday. Which
so we got a little bit more.
A little bit more, but yeah. So yeah, I don't really know what to say other than to be thankful to everyone. It's been we weren't expecting it to go like this. This has been overwhelming in so many ways. So we are truly, truly happy and humbled by everyone's support.
That's awesome.
Okay. Well, do check it out, and do check out our Kickstarter, which is we're currently getting sort of close at 100,000. You get to vote on different types of devils. And
Yeah, that vote is actually just pretty fierce. That people like both of those devil options a lot. The overall expansion with more devils or the diabolic schemer archetype. Because we're at 92 right now. That's pretty exciting. Like this time last Kickstarter was only at like 80 or 79 or something like that. So it's doing pretty well. But there was also a massive surge in the Kickstarter last time near the end that is unusual for us. So we'll see how it goes. I'm excited.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. We're hoping for a small surge towards the end as well, which might bring us right over the 300k mark, which is what BackerKit seem to think is expected to happen. We shall see. We shall see. But yeah, and thank you for inviting me on to chat about this and talk stupid dinosaur stuff. And
It's always fun having you.
thank you, Mark.
it's not stupid. It's
You called them silly though,
silly.
Steven. You called all of our books
silly is
silly.
not stupid. It's very different.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
It's a
Well, maybe you'll have me back on then at some point in the future. Either if we don't reach it and we do the Pathfinder version, or when we do our next book. Yeah, maybe.
That'd be great.
Yes.
And I'm sure I'll be pestering Stephen for some contact details for both Thor and all the other stuff we chatted about as well.
Will do.
All right, everybody. So until next time, if you want to battle the zoo, you have to roll for combat.
Hey, you, tabletop gamer! I know that you've played your way through the Tolkien back catalog of elves, dwarves, halflings, and sexy elves. Now you're looking for something new, something a little weird, something that fills in the gap between nostalgia and monstrosity. Well, listen up, sicko! Battlezoo Ancestry Living Legends is here to fill that hole. Featuring 14 unique ancestries for your Pathfinder 2e or D&D 5th edition games, like Swarm Blood, a creature made of hundreds of other little creatures. Ew. Gargoyles, where you can disguise as an ordinary statue but also become a warrior of the night. Angels, devils, sphinxes, evil eyes. Look at them. I love them and will die for them. And the most chaotic ancestry of them all, fusions. Play as an ancestry that combines multiple characters in one, like a chimera, or two-headed giant, or even a mighty hydra. Is that a party in your character, or are you just happy to see me? You could either share this character with other players or control it all yourself. In front of you is a golden idol placed on a pedestal.
My character does an Arcana check to determine its origin and any possible enchantment that might.
I'ma stick it up me bum.
Battlezoo Ancestry's Living Legends includes in-depth information about each creature's culture, society, and history. Plus, you'll get hundreds of digital tokens and illustrations that work with any VTT, and thousands of unique options and custom rules for players or game masters to build the strangest characters imaginable. Make sure to check out all the perks below, and thanks for stopping by Battlezoo Ancestry's Living Legends.
Don't forget you can get the book digitally or in a beautiful hardcover.
I'ma stick that up me bum and all.